Hey, it's Joel. I'm here at the Bay Area Maker. I'm going to keep going. Hey, it's Joel. I'm here at the Bay Area Maker Faire, thanks to Matterhackers, and I'm here with Winston Moy. Hey, Winston.
Hey, Joel. How's it going?
Good. Winston actually has his own channel, Winston Makes, and it's a wonderful channel devoted to all the cool stuff that he loves to make, right?
I do like to make things, but that is not my channel. My channel is Winston Makes. You can find it on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram. I do all sorts of CNC projects, digital fabrication stuff. But I'm first and foremost a CNC evangelist.
Which is why you're here, because right next to Winston is the Carbide3D CNC mill. You know way more about this than I do, and so I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about it and clean this up and maybe start another milling job?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, so what we have here is the Carbide3D Nomad Pro. It's a self-contained, ships ready to run CNC for about $2,500. It's got a brushless 50-watt motor. Connected to a brass flywheel, connected to a very rigid spindle that runs an ER11 collet. That is an 1/8-inch end mill that is right now carving, I believe that is wren shape. They have this in a flip jig, so they sell accessories like a vise and other work holding things that you can use to secure your material. And we're going to clean this up so you can take a look at it. This thing is powered by, I believe those are NEMA 17 motors on a lead screw, so it's a very rigid system. You have really beefy steel rails that these things ride on. You've got 2 here, 2 on the bottom, and also 2. So all axes are driven the same way. So let's clean this up and take a closer look.
Well, let's first I want to talk about a couple of the things that we had mentioned before. One was the brass flywheel and shock loading, and the other was having a lead screw driven machine rather than belts.
Okay. So because we have a small compact motor and CNC milling is a rather violent process, they put a little extra mass here just so that when this thing bites in the material, it can maintain a really steady RPM, and the lead screws are much more rigid than belts. So this thing, even when you're pushing through aluminum, can hold a really tight tolerance. So that's important for precision work. If you're doing jewelry, engraving, and metals, it's a really nice system to have.
Oh, so like the Carve has a belt, like you were saying, but if you're going to do primarily metals, it's better to have a more rigid machine?
Absolutely. The vibrations and the cutting forces that you experience, they push back on your spindle. And so if you have belts that are a little stretchy, even though those are pre-tensioned, they will still move a little bit. So these lead screws, they're pretty solid. They're not going to move at all. So you can maintain a really high precision at the end mill despite having really high cutting loads.
Now we can get to where we need to clean up and start another, is it a milling job? Is that what we call it?
Yeah, milling operation, milling job, whatever works.
Well, I would say start a print, but you know.
You could call it a print and we'll just sort of gloss over that.
No.
We'll do it right.
We'll start a milling job.
Sounds good.
All right.
Basically the way this flip jig works is you secure your material in it, and there are locating pins that lets you flip it over and keep the same center.
You just need to keep a proper Allen wrench nearby.
Yeah, I know. And since this isn't my shop, I don't know where it is. So you have screws that hold material in here, and there are pins here that index into the aluminum table. So I'm just going to do that to clean it up a little.
It's okay when it's not your machine.
I know. And so you can flip a piece over. Because of where these pins are, you know exactly how to center your piece. So that is the exact same spot it was before, just on the reverse.
I see.
And so
I see.
Down, and you can mill it from both sides. And that's how you get these shapes. Here's a nicer one. And you can sort of see like that mid-plane is where like the end mill came down, and it didn't quite clean it up, but you can just sand that away real easily.
Or would you then run another pass?
You could run a pass that's just deeper, that plunges past that midpoint, and that would save you a lot of cleanup. They're cutting it really close, and they just didn't quite get there.
Well, it looks like, I mean, you do need to be careful because it looks like this bunny isn't properly rotated. So it looks like someone flipped the jig the wrong way.
Oh yeah, it must be a rookie mistake. Wasn't me though.
Well, we're at a con, right? We're at a Maker Faire, so mistakes do happen.
Yeah, and so the thing about this jig is that you could actually accidentally rotate it, and that's probably what happened.
So this piece back here, is that just a protection piece?
I think they just use that to space it out because you need to center this block in this jig, ideally. And it's not the same thickness. So they put a little 1/8" shim in there to elevate this up, and so that's how they figure out they get this sort of centered. And so I think this is just there to keep this piece off the table.
Well, now that we got this out and we kind of talked about this flip jig and how this 1/8" end mill works and the brushless motor and the lead screw driven, let's actually start a milling job. I'll help you clean it up.
Okay.
We'll come back. It'll be ready to go.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Come on, Winston. Positivity.
It's going to work.
Hey, while we're milling that piece, let's talk about this. This is Nylon X from Matterhackers. It's a nylon-based material with carbon fiber infused into it. So not only do you get the benefits of nylon, which is incredibly strong and resilient, you get the added benefit of that carbon fiber. So it makes it easier to print with, it makes it less prone to warping, and it adds a little bit of stiffness. Plus, it's a fantastic looking filament. Go to Matterhackers.com today and look into getting yourself some Nylon X.
It looks like, thanks to Jamie's help, thank you, Jamie, we have the jig loaded, and we have what kind of material?
Wren shape.
Wren shape in, and we're going to carve the front layer of a bunny rabbit?
I believe so.
Okay.
File. And we are going to measure the tool length. It does that every time, just so it knows where it is. It's got a tool length probe.
Oh, okay. So it's going to touch that, and that's going to give it like a Z?
Yeah.
Oh, it has to always know how tall the tool is because it has to know when it's plunging into the material.
Yep, that's correct. So we're going to just move this over, make sure it's in the right place before we cut. So I'm actually going to wrap it. So that's where it thinks XY0 is.
I think that looks appropriate for what we're doing.
I believe so. And I'm just going to jog this down to make sure that the Z is in the correct spot. So we're going to finish jogging. We're done. Our 0 is correctly set. Then we can go to run, and then we can hit start.
Oh. It's going to measure the height again, it says.
Yeah, it just likes to double check all the time.
Oh, so something like this you always want to be sure because you don't want to start cutting into material with the wrong tool because that could get costly, couldn't it?
It always starts out with the first time you use a tool, it always probes it. So if we had a second operation, it would also probe for that one. It would prompt you, change the tool, and then it would probe.
It looks like this is an easy material to carve, and it doesn't look like it's taking off much for a first pass.
Correct. Wren shape is a very light material, so it's very forgiving, and a lot of people use it for prototyping. It's dimensionally stable, so it's not going to warp on you like wood or MDF, but it's very light. It basically turns to powder when you cut it, and it's really just easy to machine, and that's why people like it.
Well, let's let this go for a bit, and then we'll come back and we'll check on it and have some final thoughts. Well, we've got that one going right now, but we do have a finished good piece. Can you show that off?
Sure. This is what it looks like from the front, and after you flip it, you can also machine it from the back. And there's a couple tabs holding it in. All you have to do is cut them off, sand those areas flush, and then you've got a completed little bunny figure.
You have to worry about what you're cutting it with, the little support pegs?
Not really. Like if you have a little Dremel or a fine knife, or some people use chisels, just make sure you don't cut into the piece you want. So you've got a fine enough blade that you can get in there. For something like aluminum, you might want like a little Dremel just to really be able to remove material. But Wren shape, forgiving, little knife, little tiny saw file, you can get in there, clean that up, no problem.
Cool. Wow. Well, thanks for the tour of the machine, and thanks for kind of showing us a little bit about CNCing. Where can people go to find you and want to learn more about what you do?
Sure. So I've got a YouTube channel at Winston Makes, and you can also find me at winstonmoy.com. And if you want to learn more about the machine itself, you can go to Matterhackers.com or Carbide3D.com.
Cool, man. Thanks again. Hey, happy Maker Faire.
Happy Maker Faire to you too, Joel.